Okay, your favorite word is what today?
Hmm?
What's your favorite word today?
Outthrow?
No.
What?
It's crisscross applesauce.
Oh,
Okay, today
that's not a word.
we're doing crisscross applesauce.
Okay. So this episode is going to be all about cross training.
And crossover from
That's
other
wait,
dog sports.
let's start that over because that was no good. Cross training. We talked about cross training. We talked about human cross training.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you start since it was my idea?
Okay, today is about crisscross applesauce.
Beep.
Crossover training.
Okay, start over. I'm not cropping that together. You haven't even had any wine and you're being very silly right now.
Today is about crossover with other dog sports.
Yes.
Crisscross applesauce.
I'm really glad you finally got that out in a proper way.
And it's very important to be able to do that with your dog for a lot of different reasons, and we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to it, and I think there's a lot of different things depending on the dog sports that you do. And there's a lot of, I know there's a lot of people out there that they're just disc doggers. That's all they're doing with their dogs as far as like dog sports go. And there's a lot of people that are dabbling in everything, or they just do a few. So it's kind of all over the place. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about it.
So first one I'm going to throw out, I think it's one that doesn't have anything bad, that it's only good. That is dock diving, swimming, anything like that, jumping into the water, swimming around, returning using a disc especially. It incorporates this dog sport. The swimming, there's not much better exercise that people or dogs can get. So I think for the most part, it's only positives with swimming, except if you're at an event and there's dock diving and they can get distracted by it. But in that case, it would mean that maybe you should be doing dock diving with them instead, because maybe that's their favorite thing.
I think I have a different take, but I do agree that if you're doing dock diving and your dog's really crazy about the pool, it might pose as a difficulty, like as a distraction. But I mean, you could say that about a lot of things, right?
That's true.
Like, but that happens more commonly, I think, than maybe
because we've seen it.
Sports
we've seen it.
Yeah, I think
not our dogs.
Like when we've had multiple dog sports together, I think more so than any we will have like disc and dock diving.
Yes.
Or like maybe there's been like disc and flyball, but really more dock diving has kind of been set up, and then they have frisbee.
IDC is a perfect example.
Yeah, IDC is a really good example.
And it's right there. We've had other events where the dock diving is at the site, but it's further away and maybe not so much of a distraction at that moment when you're playing.
At IDC specifically, it's very much a distraction.
I've seen dogs distracted with herding because they know that the animals are there, and there's herding possibility.
Well, we'll talk about herding. I'm really interested to talk about that, but I actually had more to say on dock diving before we move on to that. So I have a totally different thing about dock diving. I actually think that dock diving, a lot of the training involved. So some of it's good. I know some of the, more serious people, I believe that they're doing some training as far as the dog striding, going off of the dock and where they should take off. But I do notice that a lot of the dogs' jumping forms, because they are trying to go as far as possible, and they're landing into water, which is lower impact than landing on, like a hard field, or, it's much softer landing into water. Although there's arguments about that too, but I'm not going to go all the way into that. But the jumping form and the way that they would land is not taken into consideration as much, because they are jumping into water. So I think that's something to be aware of when, like if your dog is doing dock diving and disc, how is the jumping style that you're training for dock diving, how is that going to play into disc? And if, hopefully you can separate those things, or, maybe your dog jumps in a style into the pool that, would lend itself for disc dogging more. So I think that's something to pay attention to. Really, you see it more when they do like the extreme vertical type ones, where the, the bumper's really high up in the air, so that they're encouraging the dogs to jump straight up. And when the dogs are jumping to that height, again, they're landing in water, so it's not such a severe thing like if they were landing on a field. But a lot of the dogs go down back in first. And so if you're doing disc, that's not ideal. So you have to just be aware. I don't know all of the things that you would do to. I don't have any dogs that are really competitive at dock diving, so I don't really know all the nuance there. But I think it's just something to pay attention to if your dog is, really into dock diving, you're really into dock diving, and how to manage that with your disc training. But as far as the swimming part goes, I think that's awesome for the dog's, fitness to, improve for disc dogging. So I definitely agree with that. And the pacing themselves and figuring out the dog's stride as running off the dock, I think that can be really helpful for some of your things in discs, especially running moves like an over or something like that.
And I think it's just fun watching the dogs swim.
It is fun.
I just did it
and
today.
They have fun doing it
and
too.
Just watching them go and like their little legs going so fast under the water, and they just love it so much. I never get bored of that. It's like playing frisbee with my dog. I could just do that like every single day.
It's just so fun to see them in the water, like, and they just, when they love it, man, they just love it. Crazy. Like Sora's water crazy.
Yeah, our dogs for the most part are either dogs that are just absolutely insane about it or don't want to have anything to do with it. But most of them, they're insane.
Link's like in the middle. You missed it. Oh my gosh. The other weekend. I almost called him Flash. Link, where Amber was trying to get Flair and Link to swim in her pool, and Link fell in, and it was really funny. He was just, and then once he got in, he was like, oh, this isn't so bad.
Yes.
It was really funny.
The dogs that aren't into the swimming, when they get into the water, it looks like they're just trying not to drown.
Oh, that's Flair. No, that's Flair. And she's like flailing all over. And we're like, really, Flair? And Sora's just running circles around all of them. Jump off the dock into the pool, swim back up, jump off the dock, go get the toy. It's just like, Sora's like, this is fun. And the other two are like, what are we doing?
So
anyway,
next thing, since we mentioned the herding, I think that'd be a nice one to talk about. Yeah,
that's another one. I think this is interesting. What are your thoughts on it? Because you haven't done as much.
Did a decent amount, but it's been a long time. It's been more than 10 years since really doing a lot of it.
Right.
But I would say one thing that's good is it helps with conditioning, because they can go a long time. I mean, your herding round you could be out there 15 minutes of training or whatever, and they aren't necessarily running full speed the whole time. Hopefully not. At least if
if they're doing it how they're supposed to.
Then there's something wrong.
They're probably not going full speed.
And so it's definitely good conditioning. On the other hand, our dogs have blown their pads out doing it, because they are running like crazy, going in circles, turning direction, and they're typically on some type of dirt a lot of times, sandy something or other. So there's some pluses and minuses.
Yeah, I think pad problems are pretty common in herding.
In terms of the physical aspects of it. The other thing is you could work on an outrun, which could, again, be good or bad in frisbee. And I used to want more of it, and lately I've been getting away from having an outrun, particularly in toss and fetch, where I want less of it. So it just depends on what you're striving for with your dog and disc, on whether that's helpful or not. And I don't have a whole lot else to say about it. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I think it could be overall, I think it's a good thing. Plus, it's fun to watch too. It's just like the swimming. Really, it's like, it's amazing to see the dogs that truly get it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
Well, I think what's crazy too about like watching the dog herd, it's like, especially a lot of disc doggers have herding breeds. Most of us have like border collies, Aussies, some kind of herding thing. And just to see that like instinct come out, and you're like, whoa, this is like what the dog was bred for. Like you could see that all coming out, and it's really just neat amazing to watch. And it's like, definitely a product of genetics, because like I can take my Shih Tzu out there and it's not going to happen. Like Flair's not going to be herding any sheep, and she's half border collie. So it's like, it's just very interesting to see genetics at work. So I've been doing herding on and off with Sora, but more lately. I've done a little bit with Link, and so I'm not going to repeat what you said because I'll just be redundant, but I agree with all of what you said. For me, what I'm finding with it is I think it actually helps me quite a bit, especially, Sora naturally does have an outrun. It's not huge, but it's actually really nice level for frisbee. I like a little bit of outrun. My personal preference is that little bit of border collie outrun. I prefer that, especially in toss and fetch. I think that it helps them see the disc better. And we've talked a little bit before on other episodes about our toss and fetch strategy, so I don't want to go into major detail, but I throw pretty flat, pretty straight. I don't do a ton of hyzer on my throws. So for me, an outrunning dog is really to my benefit. So dogs that outrun are helpful. So that herding training can help improve that outrun and get a bigger, nicer round circle. Something that I think is potentially not good, that herding, like the outrun specifically, is when the dog goes behind the sheep and they're bringing them to you. You don't necessarily want the dog to go back out behind the disc and around it, especially if they're not a good catching dog. I think Sora does this sometimes, and I get away with it because she's a good catcher. But if she was not a good catcher, oh my gosh, I think that would really come to bite, some dogs in the butt, because that's a very hard catch for them to make. So some of the herding training does encourage that to go all the way around the sheep. So, if they generalize that to disc, they might not. It depends on the dog, but, they may or may not generalize that to disc. So it's something to be aware of if you're doing herding training. Something that I have, has just helped me with Sora so much and made everything so much easier. And in fact, I'm teaching it to my non-herding dog, like Flair. I'm doing the same stuff too. And it's the speed control. And I love the way that, if you watch somebody who's an expert herding trainer or herding competitor, they can whistle or make their cues, and the dog will slow down. They'll change direction. They can steady. They can walk up quicker. They can slow down. They come to a stop and lie down. They can stand still and freeze. And that kind of stuff, when you've got a fast dog, can really come to the rescue. And I've had situations with Sora, and it's in our training now, that it's maybe I don't have the disc in time, but I need her at a distance for the next trick. I might, kind of have her slow down a little, give her a steady or, slow down cue, or, maybe I say there, or a lot of times I'll try to incorporate it into something else. Maybe I'll have her spin or do a rollover or something like that. But I can use some of those speed control things that come from the herding world to get my dog to come at the speed that I would like them to come back to me. So that's been super helpful. And Flair too. It's been extremely helpful to get her to, especially those dogs that really push at you. And Sora and Flair are both like that, to just get them off you a little bit.
I know
very helpful.
Something in herding that was helpful for me was to really see the dog's tendencies, meaning which way do they prefer to go? Are they a clockwise dog, counterclockwise dog? Yeah. When they lunge in to possibly bite the ankles of the sheep, how they do that is a lot how they go for the disc. Are they bitey or not bitey? But I was able to see really the tendencies of some of my dogs. And then in herding, it's really a problem if they can only go one direction. So you have to get them to go both directions. And then that's just going to help you with disc.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I'm actually struggling with Link right now to get him to go both directions, which it's really funny, because the direction that he struggles with in herding is in disc. I ask him to do clockwise all the time. He does not want to do come by. He does not want to do it. And so we'll see if we can get him over that. But right now I'm like, dude, come on. But his away is beautiful, which is so funny, because I rarely send him counterclockwise in Frisbee right now, just based on where we're at, maybe more in the future. But yeah, it's very interesting. But I know he can do his come by because we do it Frisbee. I'm like, come on, Link. Dork.
You ready for the next one?
Yeah. Let's go on to the next one.
I'd like to talk about agility a little, because I think you've probably done more than me. I don't know. It's hard to say now. Maybe I've done.
Oh, it's hard to say. Yeah, well,
I've been doing a lot more lately.
Jen is the real agility one. She won't
our
come
producer.
on. Our producer is missing. She won't come on the podcast. She's producing from the other room. So, yeah, agility. I think agility, has a lot of crossover with disc, in the fact that it's a lot of, especially freestyle, where it's a lot of quick movement and a lot of fast-paced cues and a lot of cues all in the span of like agility. An agility run is less than a minute. So it's a lot of cues all spanning in a short period of time. And so getting your dog to listen and kind of snap to those cues is really important.
Going both directions.
Going both directions, absolutely. They've got to go both directions in agility, just like in herding. And really for the handler side of it, thinking of where you are in perspective in relationship to where your dog is. That's really important in agility. And I think it could be lost on you in freestyle if you've never had any agility experience, to not think about like, hey, I'm over here and my dog's coming at me from this angle, and somebody edit math all over me.
Right. That's totally true. And the way that when I started doing agility, when I first walked out into the agility course, I was like a deer in the headlights. Not, oh, gee, I don't know what to do. I didn't. But the deer in the headlights thing was just this spatial kind of relationship with the dog. And
the obstacles.
Obstacles.
And trying not to run into them.
And feeling like, oh, wow, this is so strange to me.
Yeah.
And feeling awkward about it. Whereas now I walk onto an agility course, I just feel completely natural. It's like easy for me. Not in terms of doing agility. Agility is extremely difficult, but being able to go out there and just being comfortable, there's no issue with that at all anymore. And that's helped me in disc a lot. Like you said, dogs coming from different angles, speeds, directions, the way they're turning, the way they're facing, the way you're turned and faced. It has helped me just feel even more comfortable in disc.
Yeah.
And being able to, here's a very simple one. The start line in agility is so important.
That's more stay than you're ever going to get in Frisbee. Really, that you need.
But you start out.
If your dog has a good start line.
In toss and fetch, nice. You need to have your dog sit there and not false start. And it's the same thing in agility.
With the distance.
And so that's.
So if you have a nice start line, stay in agility, it's going to lend nicely to disc.
And could help you in freestyle too, especially on the start. But it could help you in other parts of the routine. Just have that ability to be able to have your dog stopped and away from you.
Absolutely. The connecting,
yes.
Connecting. And it is a form of like speed control in a way, because, if you set up for a leg vault and your dog, as soon as you lift your leg up, your dog goes, well, you need to have some impulse control and some patience. And I think agility trainers are really thinking of that maybe more than anybody.
Yes.
And I did want to mention that as well, is that I feel like in the world of dog sports, more training and more methods are being thought of and worked on in agility. There's more things. So like, I'm not saying that they're, no, I am saying that. So they have more things to train and more methods to train them. Right. And so there's a lot of different things, and they're even changing the way that like foundations are trained, just the very beginnings of training. So I think that they have a lot more processes in place that, maybe other dog sports don't think about because they don't need it as much. Agility, I think, is one of the fastest growing dog sports. And you need all of these different things, and everybody's trying to push the envelope because it is becoming so competitive. Well, it has been for a long time, but even more so. I mean, like you look at, all these agility finals, and you can see like the top 20 people are running clean, and it's like less than fractions of a second, basically making a difference. But, it's really interesting because I see a lot of the same people on top, even with different dogs and all these different events. And it's like, okay, so what are they doing that's making all of their dogs like a sliver of a second faster than everybody else's? And it does come down to all those little nuanced training. And agility people have a really good like process of, we're going to, go by the book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. These are the steps that we're doing. And this is the exact, very detailed process to get exactly what I want, because they are pushing to the next level. And I think disc starters are starting to take note a little bit, and it's starting to happen in our sport too.
And it's becoming
that way. This is where the 6 throws are coming.
That is how you and I train our dogs.
It is.
And for me, especially seeing Jen train the dogs in agility, that is where I got that whole concept from. have a plan. And a lot of people say, I need to send my dog to, Jeff's school of disc dogging. And it's because I do have a method of the way I do things. I have steps.
And it's very specific,
very
extremely specific.
And some of the things that are carry over that I think are important to help people out, maybe they don't realize if they haven't done agility. Jump training.
Yeah, I was just going to say the jump training drills. I've stolen so many of those for my disc dog stuff.
And also, just like in herding and in swimming, the conditioning that you're getting is excellent. Of course, if you're playing with your dog doing agility, all of that is a direct carryover into disc because your dog's going to go faster and things like that. I've actually had some people tell me that they believe that a lot of that Cheeky, for example, is running faster than some of the other puppies out of the litter in agility because of the disc. There's carryover the other direction, which we're not talking about that right now, but it's really nice, the relationship that these sports can have between them. It goes both directions.
No, that's a really good point too. And that's kind of like what I find about, doing other sports with my dogs. And while I would say that like my number one sport is obviously disc and probably always will be, bar nothing catastrophic happens to me, but I think it's really fun to take your dog to do something else, to sort of give them a little bit of a break from just Frisbee, to try something else, even if you're just going to do it at a casual level or a low level. Like I never got to be anything competitive with Sora in agility, but we did it. And I think it was a lot of fun to see what she did with it and have that kind of different relationship and learn a whole different game to play together.
Challenge yourself, challenge your dog.
Yeah, it's a fun challenge. And that's what I find with like herding and taking my dogs to do some different things just to learn more about them. You learn more about your dog. Your dog gets more confident and comfortable with you doing everything. Like take on life fully with them. That's kind of my thought. I'm not saying you have to play other things other than disc dog, but it's nice if you do.
Things can get a little easier if you decide to do something like agility. There are some small aspects that are actually easier in agility if you've done disc. For example, you throw a toy as a reward in agility, how are you getting it back?
Right.
If you haven't taught a return, you probably haven't taught a return in agility. There's no real reason to. And what if if you get the toy and then they're trying to pull it out of your hand and they won't give it to you? All of those things you teach in disc, and it makes your training sessions easier. So Jen loves the fact that she gets to go out there and tosses the toy to them. They go and get it and they just bring it right to her and just hand it to her, and then they continue instead of her having to go over and pick it up or the dog running away with it or something like that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. Another thing I was going to mention that I think is beneficial from agility is that, a lot of times you're thinking a couple obstacles ahead and kind of like trying to cue the dog earlier and thinking ahead. And that does come to play in herding too, but it's a little easier to see in agility, I think. And thinking that way in disc, I think, is helpful for you as a handler and the dogs.
So flyball, I've never done flyball, but I've trained with flyball trainers.
Yeah.
And I got one thing in particular from them.
I think we both will say the same exact thing.
And what
Ready?
is it?
Restrained recall.
Oh, I was going to say return.
Yes, okay, same thing.
But it's by using a restrained recall.
Yes, it's the return by using, yes, exactly.
So what I did, the restrained recall is when somebody holds the dog and they run with a long tug toy along the ground, call the dog, they release the dog, and the dog goes flying after you as you call their name. This is to get a fast return in flyball because that's the most important thing to them. Once they get the ball, they got to come back as fast as they possibly can.
And a lot of dogs have no problem going to get the ball because the ball's there. I got to get the ball. But trying to motivate them to come back once they got the ball, it's kind of like, well, I got the ball. Like, okay, whatever. I'll come back to you. But the real flyballers will tell you that the real reward is the tug toy. So they're going to get the ball. The ball is just part of the equation to get the tug toy.
Right.
Usually it's a tug toy.
And so I worked with flyball trainers and learned how they did the restrained recall. And this is before probably anyone was really doing it in disc like this. People didn't generally have really fast returns like we're starting to see now. And I took that and I just expanded upon it because I needed more. I also needed the handoff, which does not matter at all in fly ball. They just need to come back to you fast. Well, I took that and then added the handoff piece to it, along with drop, like a fast drop, and all those things just came together.
Right.
And that's what I did, and that became part of like my program with teaching my dogs the retrieve, the handoff, the get it, the drop it. All that stuff is like one giant piece to me, but it all came from fly ball originally.
Yeah, the original start of it is that restrain recall
Right.
that you see all the time in fly ball. I'm going to be honest, I actually don't know that there's any other piece of fly ball that really lends itself to disc.
The running and
yes, the running
the training,
and the speed, but I think it's that piece of it because, and yes, fly ball, when you're training it over time, yes, they're going to get more fit doing it, but realistically, the runs are only like 5 seconds or less, and if your dog's really fast, they're like 4 seconds or under.
Right.
But
I suppose that the rebound could be a little bit like a rebound off the box. I don't know, because I haven't trained it. I don't know how they train it.
Yeah, when I was doing it, the box turn was very new. That was really like reserved. Really, only best teams were doing that. A lot of the dogs were still slamming the box, like just front
straight on, and then
yes. And so the swimmer's turn was very new when I was doing fly ball, and so there were some methods of training it that didn't really work. Like that was my encounter. By the time that, like, I think the more common methods that are out there now, that was not really readily available, and I was already out of fly ball by the time that became readily available. But yes, I do think it's probably pretty similar. I'm not sure exactly what they do any more than that, but to be honest, that strong return honestly is probably the greatest thing that you could draw from any of the other dog sports.
Absolutely.
And fly ballers have brought that to a whole different level of fast return.
What happened is we saw them at big events, and the fly ball dogs were returning. These people weren't really training their dog for disc.
Their dogs would just come back with anything
They
quick.
were coming back lightning speed, 3 times faster than all the other disc dogs that have been doing this for years. And I'm thinking, okay, we're stealing this.
Yeah, we need that.
And I went out and I went ahead and stole all those concepts.
And I think it's become much more common. And I think in agility too, a lot of the, kind of high speed dog sports have really taken that and turned it into their own sport.
Absolutely. Do you have any other sports or any other general
So I was
advice?
just going to bring up, like some of the other ones, like obedience, rally, those sorts of things. I think, I haven't really done any competition obedience. I've done a little bit of rally. I do think some of those types of moves can be helpful for your setup moves. Having the dog move along next to you, they have the dog circle around you. I think there's some ideas and some pieces that you could pull from that. And I'll be honest, I actually took an online class from like a rally trainer, and some of the trainings that I learned from that was really helpful in explaining like reward placement and how moving the dog's head can actually move the dog's body. So, while you might look at something like rally and say, how does that really, how would that really benefit you playing in disc? My point in bringing it up is that, I think it's to your benefit to even try other sports that seem totally unrelated, because like that, I learned from that trainer that, based on where she was treating on different sides of the dog's nose and the mouth and everything, and the way that she did that was actually getting the dog to turn their rear end. And so you could actually apply that to certain things in disc, depending on, there's a lot of different applications for it, but, I just think about it too, like the way that the disc is flat or angled and the way that their head's turning to catch the disc, that might change the way the rest of their body's moving. That's, there's a whole deeper dive into that based on the dog structure and all that. But my point is that something so small like that can actually have a ton of different applications. And you would think, like I said, what the heck does rally have to do with disc? But help me figure out some, really interesting nuanced stuff.
And before we wrap it up, I'd just like to mention
your new favorite sport, barn hunt, right?
No, musical freestyle.
A
lot of tricks. It's just about all kinds of tricks. And if you could incorporate disc into those and to speed them up, because I do think that generally they're too slow for our sport.
Some of them can be, it depends. But generally a lot of them are slower.
They're a lot slower, but I think you can incorporate that and just get those concepts, and a lot of people have fun with that.
I actually think that the musical freestyle stuff has a lot of application to disc, especially in the way of setup moves and those sorts of things. And I think that there's a lot of things that they are doing that we as disc starters could be exploring more, as far as like, I think the world, like particular elements like multiples in our sport have not been explored to the fullest, and that's an area where a lot of people, like, I don't think we've seen the full potential of creativity. Whereas like vaults, I think a lot of that has kind of come to its limit as far as what can people hit consistently and in competition and safely. Mm-hmm. You've kind of seen it all. You've seen the unique grips, you've seen the under the legs, you've seen the butterflies, you've seen the dish spins, like very unique.
There'll always be slight tweaks.
There's always a slight tweak, yes, but for the most part, you've seen most of it.
Nothing transformative, really.
Nothing, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I think some of the stuff that is being done in dog dance, you could take and apply to elements like multiples, to, different movement segments. Like, we're pretty used to like seeing around the world or like a long multiple or zigzag. I think there's areas to be explored from the inspirations of musical freestyle that have not been explored yet. So, I don't know, if you're looking to get creative, maybe that is something to watch, and you could draw inspiration from that, because I think there's things that they're doing, and their transition moves, like I said, definitely a lot of their tricks could be applied to transition movements for disc dog freestyle.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it yet. We've seen some of it, but I think there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, get into these other sports, give them a shot, and you're going to be a better trainer. Your dog's going to have more fun. You're going to be a better person for your dog. And get out there and try these other things, because they're definitely helpful.
Yeah.
And they're fun.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. I know we didn't cover all the sports, but we try to cover as many that we think you might be doing as possible.
So some of the best physical sports, I say.
Yes. The ones that a lot of the disc starters are also doing. So thank you guys again for watching. Maybe we'll have another episode with other different sports. Yeah. So let us know what else are you guys doing with your dogs, and I'd be curious to know. Thanks, guys.
This has been
the Disc Dog Pod. Bye.